What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. We got some major stuff here, a major Supreme Court ruling on a major item, Title 42, that will prevent millions of migrants that are crossing the border. We'll give you the details on that here and multiple different things here going forward in this video. And a lot of people have been kind of worried about this, A lot of people on both sides of the aisle. Yeah, so you guys can let me know your thoughts here on this. If you're new to our YouTube channel, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. And thanks so much for liking and sharing these videos. Okay, Supreme Court orders Title 42 border restrictions to remain in place in a 5-4 vote. Very close. Okay, in the Supreme Court ordered the controversial Trump-era Title 42 border policy to remain in place for the time being. Also remember that current President Joe Biden has extended this order, but it was set to expire last week, and there was a temporary order to remain in place. And now the Supreme Court has ruled on it again to extend it again. In a 5-4 vote, the High Court, Supreme Court, reversed an order from a federal judge in Washington, D.C., who ruled last month that the border policy must end, where they could send illegal migrants crossing illegally back into Mexico. So a judge here recently had ruled that that must end, and now the Supreme Court ruled that no, it will not end, at least for the time being. The court's ruling comes in response to an emergency request filed by 19 Republican state attorney generals, asking to maintain the policy. So the policy will maintain, which was scheduled to expire last week. Yeah, about a week ago. I think it was on the 21st. Here's what's interesting is conservative justice, Republican Justice Neil Garouche, joined all of the Supreme Court liberal justices in siding against the order, allowing Title 42 to stay in effect in a 5-4 vote. Yeah, so Republican Justice said in a dissenting opinion that the current border crisis is not a COVID crisis. Interesting. I mean, honestly, it's kind of hard to address a pandemic and a virus that won't go away. I mean, we just caught the virus here a few weeks ago. It's really hard to address a virus that won't go away. We are a court of law, not policymakers of last resort. The Supreme Court on Tuesday also set a date for oral arguments in the case for February, with a final decision in the case expected in June. So this will go on here for a while. The High Court's case stay will remain in effect until a ruling is made, but it does not prevent the Biden administration from ending the policy. Although the White House has not signaled it would do so, but they could. The policy has drawn fierce criticism from immigration activists who say the policy is cruel and inhumane and no longer relevant as a mass pandemic restrictions have been lifted in the U.S. I wouldn't really say that per se. It is still a pandemic emergency restriction here in the U.S. I mean, what are your thoughts here on this? We have, in a lot of cases, over 10,000 illegal immigrants crossing illegally per day in the United States, and they're coming over illegally. They're not crossing legally. They know they're coming and, not doing paperwork and not coming the legal way. And if they're caught, should they be allowed to stay or should they be sent back? I mean, I honestly got to say that we're probably one of the few countries in the world that would even consider letting them stay. Now, in other parts of the world, there would be much, much harsher consequences And I'll just give you guys a second to even think about what other countries around the world would do. They have armed border guards. We kind of do too, but we don't do what other countries do with their armed border guards around the world. Their border guards are armed and they use them. So you guys can let me know your thoughts here on this, and I'll keep you up to date here on this because obviously it wasn't too long ago that the border crisis in the United States was literally the number one item when polled for Americans on what was the top concern. Now, of course, we have the economic crisis, and then we also recently had the pandemic. I need to mention here, my brother who was in the army here recently. We're actually pretty close. He did not come over on Christmas. Him and his fiancee, they've been together for years. They caught COVID. They actually went on a cruise to Florida, ironically. And, he's an insurance agent and they were doing Medicare stuff, enrolling people in Medicare and stuff. The Medicare enrollment season kind of ended. And right before Christmas, and they did a cruise, and her daughter turned 21, and they kind of went on a cruise to kind of celebrate, and also for him to take a little bit of a vacation after, because they worked like every day for like 30 some days straight. And the Medicare enrollment season is kind of a really, really hectic, and he had been going. So they went on this little cruise, and lo and behold, they caught COVID. And it was kind of similar to us. We went to Disney. Our son's 4.5, and it's just, you gotta go eventually. What do? You wait till your kid's 18 to go to Disney. You generally take your kids to Disney when you're young or when they're young. You don't wait till they're 14. You go when they're young. So he's 4.5. We had waited 4.5 years to take him, and we caught the virus. And eventually we all caught it. Grandma, grandpa, and my mom, or my wife's parents caught it. So we all caught it because it's literally just spreads through your breath. Yeah, so we had both. Our whole family actually had not caught it for what is it? 2.5 years since the pandemic started, since March of 2020. And we go on 2 vacations to Florida, one to Disney World. I get Disney World and Disneyland confused. And my brother goes on a cruise out of Florida, and both times we both catch it. So he's dealing with it right now. He didn't even come over for Christmas, and yeah, so they're dealing with it right now. And but honestly, he hasn't been on a cruise for years. We had been cruisers also. I haven't been on a cruise actually recently as well. You think, yeah, a cruise is kind of confined information, kind of confined quarters. But it's on the other hand, you're like, well, when is it okay to do this kind of stuff? Um, when is it okay? Does life go back to normal? When does life go back to normal? Never. Do you never start traveling again? Do you never go back to normal? Yeah. The other thing is, our son's in preschool now. He's been sick several times. Obviously, he's on winter break now. But that's the thing is, my wife showed me a meme the other day, and it said, me, it was kind of like a concerned look of a mother, and it was like me wondering what my child's gonna bring home and get me sick with next, because he's been sick like 5 times already this year since he went to school. And he's a preschooler, so he's kind of like building up his immune system. And it's just like, yeah, it's just like they go to preschool, and like every kid's kind of coughing and snoring, and getting the other kids sick. And it's like, yeah, it's just like um yeah, it's just like, it's kind of one of those things here. It's just like, no, it's just like, well, we're gonna catch this, that, and the other thing. And it's just like, it kind of sucks. Kind of sucks. And the other thing is just like, Well, if you don't have young kids, you can kind of stay away from this because this is kind of the first time he's gone to school, and you know. Oh, another thing that I need to mention: if we didn't go to Disney, I think I'd mentioned this one other time. If we didn't go to Disney, a kid in his class actually had COVID when we got back to Disney, and he actually kind of caught it afterwards because he had a real bad fever. When they alerted us to a kid had it in his class, and I think he caught it again, but his body kind of fought it off. This was literally a couple weeks after he had caught it, but he had the natural immunity, but his fever kind of spiked up for one day, and then it was gone because it was right after he had caught it. So his body kind of still had the antibodies and was able to fight it off. But he had like a fever spike up for one day, and then the next day it was kind of gone because his body was actually kind of still almost getting over the first one. But this is the kind of thing you have to think about in life. Is like I had said this previously, probably several times on the show. I'm kind of under the assumption that most, if not everybody, is going to catch this at some point or another, unless you're a kind of a recluse and you almost never leave and really only kind of maybe go grocery shopping and stuff. Then maybe you have a good chance. I mean, we dodged it for 2.5 years. But if you're a person that wants to go out and live a little bit and travel a little bit and see the world, you're probably gonna catch it at some point or another. Because it's honestly it's kind of like a flu or a cold the way it feels. So it really just depends. To be honest, it really didn't hit my mom and dad. My mom's 76 years old, and it really didn't hit my parents, my wife's parents, that bad either. So it really just depends. It really just depends. But it kind of had a lingering on effect. Kind of had a lingering on effect. Now it hit my brother's fiance kind of bad for the first couple days. And honestly, I don't want to say who's vaccinated and who's not, because I know that different people have different feelings about this, and I just really don't kind of want to get into that because I know that different people are like all different feeling about that and stuff. So I really don't want to mention that in case you're wondering. I always get questions about that. So if you're ever wondering why I don't mention that, that's kind of why. Because I always get people that are like, "Oh, it's the worst thing ever. Oh, why aren't you?" Or this, that, and the other thing. So that's just kind of why I don't mention that, in case you're ever wondering. Um, but honestly, it just kind of hits different people differently, whether you're vaccinated or not, whether you're young, old, or not. I mean, we've kind of mentioned the things here on the channel here of people who were young Olympic boxers who got hit and were fighting for their lives, and then you get other people who are like old and get it and they're fine. Like my parents, my mom got it and she was convinced that it wasn't COVID, and she's 76 years old and she was fine. She got it, and she took the test and was positive twice from the test. And she didn't even believe the test. She didn't even believe it. I'm like, Mom, you took the test twice. It tested positive. You've seen the test yourself twice. And we had it and you got it from us. We were all together. And she's like, no, it can't be COVID. Because the mainstream media just kind of leads you to believe that if you catch it, it's the absolute worst thing ever. And for some people, it is. I mean, my wife got it and she was in bed for 7 days straight. And it just kind of hits people differently. And I think some of it has to do with how much viral load you get. Like whenever the person that gives it to you, which is kind of just through breath, you don't have to lick your fingers and put it in your mouth or something like a 2-year-old would. But I think part of it has to do with the viral load, and also I think the other part of it might have to do with how good your immune system is, and whether or not you're immunocompromised or not. Like my wife has a kidney disease, and she's in pain every day. Maybe that had to do with it. And I tend to, me and my brother and Julian, we all have really good immune systems. We've kind of always had them forever. Now, of course, I'm dealing with this dizziness issue, which I think is from vestibular migraines that I've had for a couple years now, which isn't vaccine or virus related or anything like that. I'm 100% sure of that. Um, but I am dealing with this dizziness issue that I've been seeing multiple specialists and doctors and stuff like that trying to get that under. But besides that, I've always had a really, really good immune system. And I always fight off colds and flus and stuff like that really, really good. So like if generally if like the whole family gets sick and I get sick, my sickness time is always like way shorter than everybody else's. So same thing with Julian. He's built just like me, like he looks just like me as a kid, like body wise. And when he gets sick, he's sick for like 1 or 2 days and he's like ready to go. And so I mean, you guys can let me know your thoughts on this, but we see this in the comment section. Comment down below. Um, Same thing. You'll see some people say, I caught it and it was like nothing. I was sick for like a day or two and it was like nothing. But then you'll see other people say, I caught it and I had several family members die from it. And like that's why you can't like discount it, and you can't say you can't discount other people's feelings, because there has been 1 million people in the US or over that has actually died from this virus, and counting. And I've seen literally countless comments of people from this community, from our community, that have had actual family members that have passed from this actual virus. So, and honestly, it's still ongoing. And I've actually seen a lot of, and who knows how long this is going to go? Who knows how long this is going to? And don't forget that the flu actually kills people too. I mean, the flu is serious. It's mostly elderly and immunocompromised people. But it's kind of like a worser flu. It's kind of like a worser flu is probably, in my opinion, can you let me know if you think it's a good analogy. Now, each variant could be different. There a lot of people are saying that the variants are getting a little bit more contagious but less deadly. So maybe I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I guess the less deadly part's a good thing. But that's the problem here, is that it doesn't seem to be going away. So here we are, almost 3 years into this, and you got to live your life a little bit here. This is going to be going on and on and on and on and on. Before you know it, we're going to be 4 years into this, 5 years into this, 6 years into this. And it's just like, do you not live your life because there's a cold and a flu going around? So eventually, I think everybody's going to get this. Over 100 million people in the US have caught this already. And that's just the people that we know about. That's just the people that have actually gone to official testing facilities. So who knows how many people have actually caught it? Is it 150 million? Is it 200 million? Remember, there's only 300 and some million people in the US. So it's like saying how many people have caught the flu in the US. Yeah. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. But this is kind of something the White House recently said that COVID just could be here with us forever. And they might be right. So, we want to think that remember that the vaccine is similar to the flu vaccine, where it doesn't mean that you're going to never catch it ever. Just like the flu vaccine, if you get the flu vaccine, it's a yearly vaccine. It would mean you would get lesser symptoms and lesser chance of death and severe hospitalization. And you guys can let me know your thoughts on that. But if you get the flu vaccine, that that is a vaccine. It doesn't mean you won't get the flu. So I kind of think those are similar nowadays, to the COVID one. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can click here to watch my newest video next. And I just did a new video here about inflation relief checks and new $900 inflation relief checks. You can click this video here to see that. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.